Hey, welcome. First things first, welcome to I don't know, a conversation. I just like to have conversations with folks, but first things first, I love your shirt. Do you know? Here, I just got to tell you this. He passed away February 11th, 2016.
Yeah.
Do you know who was born February 12th, 2016?
You were, huh?
Oh, my kid. My kid was. My son.
Your kid was?
Yeah, he was born. They like passed in the night, dude.
Really? What was is that your son named Ferd?
Yeah, Ferdinand. Ferdinand and him, they passed in the night. Seriously, like I remember hearing the news of his passing, and it was right as I was getting my wife all lined up for like they were gonna induce her, and we were at Akron City, and uh and then like that news came down, but it was just like you're so overwhelmed in that situation. You're just like, I mean, I couldn't even like go in. I watched this real cool tribute somebody did to him with a Drake song to it. You ever seen that one? Geez, it is. I'll have to shoot it to you.
Yeah,
But it's just like,
I've probably seen it, but that was a while ago. But
yeah.
like,
And it had the match with him and Bill Spleet. His state final was in it. His pride thing when he picked Fedor up and they did a flip and Fedor landed on his head. But yeah, Kevin Randleman, dude. I mean, not and a good dude too.
right? Randleman told me in that Fedor match that the reason why he thought he like died. Like the way he slammed that dude, that's why like you saw Randleman pause. So he didn't finish the match. He didn't get on and start dominating him because he just kind of stopped. He thought the ref was gonna like stop it.
Well, then what did he armbarred him, didn't he?
Yeah, so because he paused, like Randleman paused. So after he slammed him, he's like, "Oh, this is gonna be it." And he paused, and then Fedor was,
He fought. He rolled through the position and caught him in an armbar, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, you think someone's dead though, especially if you're random and you've been killing people like that, like really hurting people for years in amateur wrestling. I mean, even if you look at those old Ohio State like those highlight videos, like the stuff he was doing is still, it's like not even duplicated even still today.
Can't do it. I'm telling
It's
you, man.
unreal. The one where he's got what Iowa guy's got him dead to rights, and the guy's got him bowed down on a single leg, and he shoved the guy off.
People picked him. Yeah.
Oh my God. Just a freak.
National duels. There's twice. Okay. Now he did it at national duels. We were at Michigan, and that one was more impressive. You got to see that video because after he, like, Bartelsvik went to ankle pick him, then he pushed the elbow and then wound up in this position. And I don't know how he lifted Bartelsvik up from a split. It was the most impressive physical feat I've ever seen in my life.
And Chelsea was like third in the country, wasn't he?
Yeah, he just
he's good. He's really good. It's like unreal. And I think he had Brinzer had the same problem. Brinzer couldn't beat Randleman either.
Like on that highlight video, Randleman was also telling me like on the highlight you see Ray Brinzer whisper something in his ear, and we asked, he's like, "What did he say?" He's like, he said to him like, that should be mine, like the plaque. And it's like, dude, he beat you in the tournament. What do you mean it should be yours?
Dude, he chest locked him and like power bomb, like threw him in the air. Dude, he went 10 feet in the air. That's not an exaggeration.
No, none of it is.
He front chest wrapped him and just lifted him up and threw him.
Yeah.
And Ray Brinzer's a mutant too.
I know.
It's unreal, man. And you know what I mean? Like, and it was Iowa Ray Brinzer, not Oklahoma State Ray Brinzer. So it was like him later on in his career too. Is the other wild thing about it.
A little more focused and like not like committing to like you could tell he was really committed to like the Gable way almost.
Yeah, no, yeah, he changed over. And then, there's been a couple weird things like that. I think the Mako went the opposite way though. Mako went from Iowa to Oklahoma State, but like you've seen some weird transfers, some weird changeovers, and they don't. It's like the jury's out if they work or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, those two guys we're talking about, two of the best talents. I mean, historically in the last 30, 40 years in wrestling, I think. If you talk Ray Brinzer and Steve Mako, you know what I mean? Like they're unreal.
Totally. Mako was just like a force, like just a tank that you just couldn't penetrate.
Yeah. You know what? Somebody, I think it was Dave Range, put out a old clipping, an old Michigan dual meet with you guys, and were you 67 or 77 in it?
Yeah, I wrestled 67 in that duel.
You won, didn't you?
Yeah, like what was happening is Charlie lost to LaCure. Charlie Bex lost to LaCure, and Smitty lost to Jeff Catcherbone, right? And we just were we were on like a crazy road trip too, and then we still weren't out of the match, but I caught this dude and pinned him, and it kept us in the match. I remember getting this dude and getting a pin, and it kept us in the match because we just were, dudes were wrestling like turds a little bit that day. And then we almost came back and beat them in that duel.
And was Range in the duel? I can't even remember.
No. This is something he found. Range had been gone for a while.
Yeah, I was gonna say because he's a lot older than you. He's about 5 years older than you.
Yeah, we were crisscrossing. I was coming in, he was going out.
Okay, yeah. So, but yeah, I saw that and I was looking at it. No, Will, you qualified. Here's the crazy thing. Your story. What's crazy about you is you qualified for the NCAAs at 3 weights.
2, yeah. 67 and 190.
I thought you qualified at 77 for some reason.
I placed the Big Tens at 190. They didn't take today. I would have qualified, but in today's rules, but I was 8th at the Big Ten at 190, and
top 7 qualified.
Yeah, and then I weighed probably about one. One day I'll tell you the full story of that one, but I weighed about 167. About 65 doing that. And then my senior year, I wrestled 67 and took 3rd in the Big Ten.
Okay.
3rd in the Big Ten.
And then so you qualified at 67 and 77 or 67 and 90?
I qualified just the one time, and I placed twice.
Okay. Got it. But you wrestled. What were the weights you wrestled?
Oh, I wrestled every weight other than 18 and heavyweight. So I wrestled 26, 30. It was 34 at the time. I wrestled 42. I wrestled 50. I wrestled 58. I wrestled 167. I wrestled 77 and 190. And I wrestled 5 in one season. I wrestled 5 in one season.
I don't know. I mean, obviously now today they have this weight and this growth plan, kind of similar to the high school thing. And I don't by the rules, I don't think you could wrestle 5 weights in it unless you were somebody who started out at 70, went up to 82. 70, 82, 95, 220, you know what I mean? Growth spurt, something.
I wrestled 34 against Dan Carstelli at Cleveland State as dual meet, and then I wrestled 190 at the Big Tens.
Oh, my God.
Took 8th place, yeah.
You started out at 34?
Yeah. First duel of the season. We wrestled Cleveland State, and technically at those points, you got weight, you got 3 pounds, so it was 37. You got weight, and then it went.
They took it away, yeah.
So so I wrestled. I wrestled 134 against Cleveland State. Then I wrestled 142 at the Ohio Open. Then I didn't wrestle. Then I wrestled 150 somewhere. I weighed in at 150. And his road trip to Oregon. Then I wrestled 158 in a dual meet against Cal State Fullerton. Then Mitch Clark became ineligible over winter break, so he was our 67. So then I became the 67 pound.
Jeez, oh Pete.
And then after that, I lost a wrestle off late in the season at 67 to Eric Odita. And then Russ took some extra people to Iowa for Big Tens because our heavyweight Rick Berlinski was cutting down to 190, and because Nick Nutter had cut down to 77. That's what happened. So 90 was vacated, and then but Berlinski snapped in that Iowa room. It was 120 degrees. Saw that everybody snapped and said, "Russ, I'm going heavyweight." And then Russ looked at me and said, "Will, just keep drinking water. All I had to do was weigh 167.1 to go 190." And then I was in the Iowa room sweating and drinking a gallon full of water. Trainer kept bringing me a gallon of water. I would drink it, sweat, check my weight, drink it, sweat, just stayed and just kept checking my weight. And I weighed in at like 168.
Jeez,
And wrestled,
and then placed
Big
placed in the Big Ten.
And then I wanted to be a kid from Purdue. And then I was wrestling a kid from Minnesota to go to nationals. He was a third-rate guy, and I was losing to him 2-1 in the second period. And I was on top, and I was power halfing this dude. He was going over, he was whimpering. I remember Mike Schick and Jim Jordan waving me. I was like hitting this power half. I was turning this dude, and I just kind of slipped off. He caught me, and then he was wound up beating me. But he only measured me. It was a third-ranked guy in the Big Ten, and I was about to beat him the guy. And then, so the funny thing about the end of that story is, so then I had to go weigh in with all the big guys. And then, so we get down to, we're in the Iowa wrestling room, and Tom Brands is yelling out. He's like, Knight, 190, Ohio State, checking weight. So Gable and Brands are running weigh-ins. So I tell Russ, I said, Russ, you got to go with me. There's no way I'm going to weigh 168. So then I go down there. And like I said, Tom Brown's like, Knight, Ohio State, And then I go down and I get on the scale. I weighed 160.
No way.
I got off the scale. Russ and Gable said something, and I'm wrestling the next day at for 7th, 8th.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so you finished. When did you graduate from Ohio State?
96.
So 96. Okay. When did you graduate from Shaker Heights?
91.
You never qualified for the state tournament.
Did not.
Qualified for the NCAA tournament.
Russell Menor Meat Grinder. I was a victim of the Menor Meat Grinder. There was 5 of us. I was ranked 16th in the state. 5 or 6 of us were at Menor, and they only took 3 out.
What were they thinking then?
Yeah.
Like, what were they taking more people out of?
It was, I remember I beat this kid, I tech balled this kid from Cloverleaf early in the season, and he was the 5th placer at his district, made the state. So it was Medina area or something, like whatever that, it was a down south one that took 5.
Akron Firestone was always the Division II one, I remember.
Yeah, it was like the Cloverleaf this one year, but I know he made it to state. He took 5th at his district.
Unreal, dude.
And our had Gustovich, who was ranked 2nd in the state. We had Tim Pluhar and Jerome from St. Joe's.
If you look at some of those old, who you came up through with in Northeast Ohio was just incredible, man. It's just like, he just said Carcelli. But Dan Carcelli was just like another Northeast Ohio guy. I mean, he was tough, but just another dude. And it's like, they had all these guys, man. And then you were at when Walsh really started to get good.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, what's Malika a year younger than you?
Malika, we're the same age.
Same age. So he's a 91 grad. They were just starting to get really good.
Yeah, that was the beginning. I remember his sophomore year, we were at sectionals with them. It was crazy. Our sectional was crazy. And they had Maple and old Maple and old Solon and old Cleveland Heights and old Shaw. These, I'm telling you, man, killer, bro. And Malika, I remember he pinned one of our kids on our team, and I never seen this kid get. He's like our team guy. I've never seen him get thrown like that. I was like, oh my god. And I never knew who Marcus Malika was. He was a sophomore, won the sectional, and it was a tough, super tough sectional. And then, the rest of the history. I was like, oh. And that was Dan Lee Master was at my. I remember my freshman year, Dan Lee Master was at 106 with me. Well, I'm sorry. It was 103 then.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lee Master, that team was crazy, man. That was the beginning. Lee Master, Malika.
So fast forward from 1991 to 29 years. Did you see 29 years later, did you see yourself as a head high school coach, Will, ever?
I did not. I thought I was going to be I don't know where I was going to be. I think I'd be just running some, doing some business with my dad, going to California, trying to make movies or something, and which, still working on doing. But, it's, no, being a head coach, no, I didn't at all.
you know, it's just like when you look at it, it's the amount of time that you guys put in is just insane. And Shaker's one of those districts. It's right on the fringe. You know what I mean? Shaker was an old suburb, and now it's kind of like a mixed suburb now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's on the
yeah,
it borders Cleveland.
yeah, yeah. It's the inner ring, and I call it like it's kind of a super famous place. And where people know about Shaker Heights. It has a huge history. Like whatever that what is that new hot show, Million Little Fires, or what is that little fire? What is that show that's on with Reese Witherspoon, and it's like whatever. Like it's the writers from Shaker, and just partially about Shaker, and creator of How I Met Your Mother is from Shaker. He put one of my Shaker wrestling T-shirts on the show, and
Yeah,
it's
Kid Cudi's from Shaker too, right?
he is, and so is Machine Gun Kelly.
Machine Gun Kelly's from Shaker?
He is.
Dude, he's huge now. Yeah, have you seen
Yeah,
the movie he was in, the Motley Crue movie?
yeah. Like Machine Gun Kelly actually is not Najee's his cousin.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's like yeah.
Dude, everybody knows everybody. I love it. Okay, so here's the other thing. What's crazy about you guys is, so you're. What is the boulevard when you drive out of Cleveland? Is it Shaker Boulevard? What is the
Yeah,
road with the like
like
estates on it?
it says, well, it's like they all go like everything direction, every from the east side, every major street. When you head west, will get you downtown eventually. So we have Chagrin that turns into Kinsman, and that takes you downtown. And we have Van Aken Boulevard that takes you down to Shaker Square, and we have Shaker Boulevard that runs down. Like so, you can whittle your way east if you head down any of those major arteries, as they say.
Dude, some of them there's still like 8 and 10 acre estates in the middle of Shaker Heights. I'm
Yeah,
not I'm
that's
not
it.
making that up,
Shaker
right?
Boulevard. Yeah, that's where like there's we kind of have this Millionaires Row. That's where
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
yeah, like we have the the Goldbergs, and Geraldo lives over there now.
Geraldo Rivera?
Geraldo Rivera. He went to high school with I went to high school with his wife.
No way. Are you serious?
Yeah. I kicked her Geraldo a couple times.
Now you know he works. Well, you know he works for Fox News sometimes, right?
I know. It's so
Is he okay? Is he okay? I'm asking. Is he okay?
he told me about Hannity. He told me about Sean Hannity, and we'll leave it at that.
Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. So Shaker is a super diverse place. I guess the whole point of it's a super diverse place. It's right on the fringe of East Cleveland, east side of Cleveland, and then it bridges out to us then because you guys are then 270 loop, right? 271, 271.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is your eastern border, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a really unique place. It's a really cool place. Is what is Kane Park? Is Kane Park in Shaker?
No, that's in Cleveland Heights.
Dude, one of the coolest,
Cleveland Heights in East Cleveland.
best concert venue I've ever been to.
Yeah, it's great. Isn't it great?
Dude, it's unreal. It's this ravine, and it's an amphitheater. It's like amazing.
Right, I've been there last year. I went and saw like some cheesy group.
Dude, I saw Counting Crows there. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's a Kane Park is a hidden gem. Like
totally, 100%.
If there's a group that you like and you know that they're going to Kane Park, go.
It's unreal. Great. So it's a real cool area because then Kane Park's right by Melt too. There's a Melt right there too.
Yep, it's right around.
Oh man, it's a really cool area. And then Shaker, and then Cleveland Heights, and then there's like University Heights, Richmond Heights. That's all over east side by you guys, right? Yep. John Carroll, Notre Dame College, South Euclid, Lyndhurst. That's all near you too. Beechwood.
Yep, Beechwood borders us.
Okay, you guys border Beechwood. Okay.
Yeah, that's our east border.
That's your east. Okay. Okay, so you guys had one state qualifier this year, right?
Yeah.
What was he, a runner-up last year? Najee Lockett was a runner-up?
Yeah, he was a runner-up. He had transferred back from St. Ignatius. And I had been coaching him since he was 8 years old, and then I don't know what made them go to Ignatius, but it's what it is. But he made his way back and kind of had some limited time getting him. There were some habits that we had to work through, some bad habits he had that we had to get through, and so last year was just kind of getting to know him again. And then the summer we had a pretty good off season, but you know, we were going well. We just were going well, but he was just kind of in between weights a little bit.
Yeah, he's a kind of a weird tweener right now. Is he a 57 in college right now?
If he walked into a college, because when we decided to go down to 60, when I saw it, like it got to a point where I saw him at 57. He's right. He's close. He could probably do 1 year at 57 if he had to.
And he's got to go right away because he's going to Cornell, right?
Yeah, but I think yep.
Well, I don't know about you, but I just barely passed. Well, I didn't barely, but I passed the NCAA clearinghouse. And I know my brother Chad was a prop. Eric Burnett was a prop. Were you a prop too?
I was not. I was a try. I had to walk on. I tried out.
You told me you used to have to go work out in the what do you call it? You had to work out in the lounge.
The study rooms, you know, between the girls. You know how they had at dorms, they had like a study room in between the girls' side and the boys' side, and we would move tables. There was this guy from like Maumee that wrestled, but wasn't trying out. But he was on our floor. He would come work out with me. Anyone that wrestled that wasn't on the team, I would sneak into the Ohio State wrestling room and just work out with whoever. And I wound up just being, you know, I wrestled my tail off at the Ohio Open. I was a match away. I was 2 matches away from placing. Like it was only like me and Charlie Bex were the only ones. Like Charlie Bex, we both lost the same round, and Jay Michael.
Study lunch training.
Yeah,
Study lunch training.
Study lunch training.
I love it. So you weren't a prop, but you had to walk on.
No, I had to try out.
Yeah. So here's the other crazy thing: you had you really had no credentials for them to be like, oh no, we want you.
No, I made the junior national team, but I contacted all the coaches. I was close to going to Michigan because I got in to Michigan. I got into Miami of Ohio and OU. And I was kind of saying who was the first one that was going to let me get on their team. But the Miami of Ohio coach just didn't get back to me. I just sent him a message or you would send him a letter and call him. He never got back.
You sent him a letter. I love it. Mail it.
That's what I had to do.
It's so awesome. 1991, you're mailing letters. I love it.
Yeah, right.
These kids just don't know, do they, Will? They just don't know, do they?
No. So no one got back to me. So then but you know, what made me go to Ohio State was Michigan called me. So I was going to go in there kind of on like a academic probationary thing. I mean, you had to really have like you had to have crazy to get in there. But I got in, but I had to come in like in a summer school program or something.
Okay. So you had stuff that you actually had to do.
Yeah. And then something, but I just remember them telling me that, like, they called me and told me, like, yeah, you're in, but and then they're saying how it's going to cost $32,000, and at that time Ohio State cost like $6,000.
And that's a no-brainer.
So here's the interesting story. I was watching the national tournament on delay, and it was Randleman's sophomore year, right? It was it was freshman year, redshirt freshman year, and he got pinned by Mark Riley.
Got chin whip. Chin whip.
Got chin whip. And I remember, I was familiar with him from high school. I got a million Randleman scores. But then when I show up in the fall, right, I track down the Russ, and he's like, well, we should see how you're going to do it at Ohio Open. I talked to Jim Jordan. We'll see how you're going to do it at Ohio Open. And then I go into my first class after I've been running the stadium. I will go and run the stadium because it's open there. I'll ride my bike to the stadium and run it every morning at like 8 o'clock, right? And I remember it only took me 8 minutes to get around because I look on the clock, I'll start at 8 and I'll be done at 8:08, right? so then my first economic class, econ, I'm dressed up day one, and guess who comes into the class but late is Kevin Randleman, right? So when I see him, I'm like, oh, I gotta go talk, I gotta talk to him, man. So at the end of class, I go up and talk to him. I say, hey, man, you Kevin Randleman? He's like, I know who you are. And I was like, what? And he's like, you beat my cousin. Like I had beat a kid from Sandusky in the Brecksville semis my junior year to make it to the finals, right? And he was from Sandusky, and Random was there. I didn't know. He's like, you beat my cousin, man. I was like, oh, well, you know, like that. And I said, well, I'm trying to walk on the team, and you know, what do I got to do? He's like, well, first of all, you got to go run the stadium every day. I said, I do that. He's like, how fast you do it? I said, like 8 minutes. He's like, no, you don't. You lying. And I was like, I do it every day, man. I said, 8 minutes. I don't. I do it 8 minutes. And then he's like, all right, you know what? Come with me right now. So he took me to St. John Arena, and we go up into their training room. He knows all these girls. The gymnasts were practicing in there. He's a superstar, right? He's just rolling in there. And then, and I remember, so then I remember saying, like, man, Random, you know, I saw you on that national championship. Man. I said, that's what made me come here. He's like, I'm going to excuse my language, like, that shit ain't going to happen again. Right? He looked at me dead in the face and said, that ain't going to happen again. I was like, oh, I said, you're the man. And then, so he puts me through a Ubi workout, which is the arm workout for 10 minutes. I'm in my dress clothes. Their first day of school, he puts me through a workout. And it's one of the famous Coleman, Randall, and Ubi workouts you see on the highlight video.
The thing, the
and then,
arm bike.
Yeah. He puts me through one. I'm wearing some denim outfit, you know, some classic 90s hip-hop looking outfit. And he, and then after I finished, he's like, oh, I'm going to talk to Russ for you. But then nothing came of that. I just ultimately had to go to they just kept telling me, let's see how you do at the Ohio Open. And I almost beat Jay Michael. Dave Range was coaching me. I almost beat Jay Michael. And then Jim Jordan was coaching him. And then I go up to Jim afterwards. He's like, you know, I think we're going to let you on the team. You look really good, you know. But I wasn't eliminated. I was like just second round, whatever. And I won a couple more matches. And I lost to Pat Birdies. Pat Birdies beat me. And then he went on and took like third at the tournament. And that was that.
So that eventually is what got you on the team. When you look at, you know, like now when you're guiding kids to get on teams, you got a kid who's going to Cornell, right? You've had a couple other guys who've gone and wrestled other different places from Shaker. How do you try and guide kids to college, and what's the message, and what do you want kids to get out of wrestling at Shaker Heights?
It's kind of it's hard for me to tell a kid not to go shoot for their dreams, you know what I'm saying? Like to try and be a D1 wrestler, but the commitment is so much. Like it's just like for instance, Javon. I was trying to give Javon Jones some advice about possibly wrestling somewhere smaller because I knew how smart he was, and I was trying to direct him to somewhere like Case Western, and you know, like where I was like, man, you can go there, be a multiple All-American national champ, and get a great like engineering degree or something. You know what I mean? Like, and but he wanted to be a D1 wrestler so badly, and you know, they gave him a great offer, you know, at Northern Illinois. And but who am I to deny? Who am I to tell him to not go after that? But I was hoping. But one thing I did tell him, I said, look, don't just let wrestling use every bit of you either. You got to take part advantage of your education that you're getting for part of the scholarship, and that is what I do tell these kids. Which, you know, like you have to take advantage of that education that you're getting too. You know, because you understand the D1 commitment, but you have to also be prepared to take advantage of your education you're getting.
And then what degree do you have from Ohio State?
I have a degree in history.
History degree? Okay. You and Eric Burnett have you guys are the two guys with degrees who use their degrees and know way what they have their degree for. He has a geography degree. He can't even read. He can't even read Google Maps. Are you surprised?
No. I mean, I knew I was gonna be doing something different. I mean, looking back on it, I wish I wish I studied like journalism. I wanted to maybe should have minored in journalism or something, and yeah, that's something I look at. And as you see, I'm like kind of history buff of a lot of things that I'm involved in, so it's still working out for me.
Yeah, tell me about what are you doing now? You always got a project going on. I recently watched your movie, The Third Day, the Ohio State movie from the was it 2004 season when they took third in the country and were like last in the Big Ten.
Yeah, that was. I'll send you a link for that. You got to get some people. I got
copies. I got the DVD. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I want to say, I want people to have. I have about 100 DVDs. They're still original. I don't
You,
even autograph them.
do you need some DVDs? I have some sitting here. If you want them, I mean, if you want to distribute them, I could never do much with
That's
them.
right. You still got some too.
Yeah, I got DVDs if you want them.
Like we'll put a link up. Like we got to sell this thing, man. We got to sell this.
Sure, but tell me about like what have you done since then? Like, because I know that, like, dude, that was like you. Here's the thing, you hit right before the internet really took off in social media. You made that 2 3 years early from when it could have got on Flow Wrestling. It could have blown up on YouTube. You could have refined it and done editing and done different stuff with it, whatever it may be, because you had already have the footage, right?
Yeah.
But you missed, dude, by like 24 months, 36 months at the most. Would you agree with that?
I do, but you know what? You know where I'm coming back though? I'm doing a documentary on the history of Ohio high school wrestling,
Okay.
and it's not gonna be a 2 hour. It's gonna have to be elaborate, and it's crazy. Some of the, I wanna kind of do a thing with Steve Brewer in this. I have a lot of footage from him in high school and us at these events and at the Olympic Training Center. I got some stuff at the New York AC. I have some really cool stuff with Burnett coaching and things, and I have a way to tell the story. And I've been trying to work with Brian Brakeman on this thing to do it through that, to do it through the Brakeman Report. So it's gonna be and going off that, I was talking to Sonny Marchetti yesterday. I know we wound up talking about Ohio high school wrestling for 2 hours, and I was like, you know what? We decided we're putting together a podcast, and we're going to do a podcast talking about real wrestling. Like, we're going to do a wrestling podcast, a little different, not going to be stale. We're going to, we have some. It's going to be cool. This podcast I put together about wrestling.
I think that's where we're springboarding from this. I think that this is, I don't have like a name for it or anything, but I think this turns into this is just a conversation. It's not really an interview. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think, I delivered on many different platforms. I haven't put it on any of the Spotify or anything like that, or iTunes or anything like that. But I think that's eventually where we go with this. What I'm doing now, you know what I mean? I think you jump into it. There doesn't have to be a ton of editing and a bunch of, you know what I mean? Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. This jumps off into that, and I've just been doing them over this break, and I figured out it's more, I don't really mind interrupting you because it's us having a conversation, and sometimes that'll happen in a conversation. I feel bad in an interview when I interrupt you because I'm like, no, this is their time for me to ask the question and let them talk, but this is a conversation, and it's all right if you cut me off. I'm okay. I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
But you get my point. It's like
one thing before we continue. All right, I always got to get the Miller connection together. Okay, Zeb is Bird is your oldest brother, right?
Bird's my oldest brother. Bird's 10 years older than I am.
I've never met Bird. He was.
Oh, you're okay. You're gonna be okay. Don't worry about that.
And now Chad.
Chad and you guys were teammates for at least a year or two.
Yes, he had the messed up nose. He had to get his nose
cauterized.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember he showed up with a black middle, like one of his noses, like black, looked like a cartoon where it's like a firecracker blew up.
Yeah, they cauterized his nose.
Yeah. And I must tell you, Chad and his wife are two of my favorite people in the world.
They're really nice people. They're really good people.
They are really great people.
Yeah, and then I have a brother, Tate, as well, who's 2 years older than me. And so those three.
Who's Buck? Who's Buck?
Buck is my cousin.
Okay.
My dad's oldest brother, because Buck was one of your teammates too.
Yes, for that one semester.
Buck was tough, dude.
He had the best freaking front headlock. I was shooting in on him when I first got on the team. I got on the team, and you had limited workout partners as a walk-on, so it's just like all the guys who, freshman, so I had to rotate with Buck a lot. And I remember the first time I shot in, it was the first time I felt my head almost got pinched off by his front headlock. He was.
He understands front headlock pressure.
Yes, I learned quick how to get out of front headlock.
Yeah, he's a contractor now. Buck is like a master craftsman and a woodworker. His dad is my dad's oldest brother.
Okay.
Okay, and then their dad is Ferdinand as well.
Oh,
So my grandpa and my great grandpa were Ferdinand as well.
good.
And then my brother Tate, who's 2 years older than me, has a son Wyatt who won the district this year at 182, and he qualified for the state for Oak Harbor, but he isn't going to get the wrestle. And then I have a sister who's 7 years older than me. Okay, so let's just talk about that. Let's go into cancellation.
Yes.
Where were you guys? Where was Najee? Where were you? What were you guys doing when it came down? It was a Thursday before the tournament was now moved to Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Where were you guys?
So the Wednesday we do our final workout because I kind of explained to him. I had to break down some things about what people were doing to him wrestling wise, how guys were stalling against him and kind of running and playing edges. So we went over these strategies because I knew what the playbook was for him, like what people were going to be doing. So we broke down some things and then we drilled, and we had the best workout that I've ever had with this kid since I've been coaching for 10 years. And I felt he was so prepared and his weight was right there. And I was like, wow, we're going to shock some people. I just believed it. And so then Thursday I get the shaker gave us a check for like incidentals and stuff, and I went and picked that up. And I remember I put it in the bank, and I was driving back from the bank, and I get a call from the AD. Like, Will, it's, so it was like noon. I was like 11 o'clock because I was driving to go up to the high school. I was like running ahead to the grocery store, and then I was loading stuff up. And I was driving to the high school to go pick them up. And I got the call, like, like at 11 o'clock noon or whatever.
What'd you say to the kid? What'd you say to the kid?
We text a little bit because it was hard for me to, because at that point it was postponed.
Yeah.
So then I just said, well, but when I said that, I put postponed in quotes because when I thought it was postponed, I didn't believe. I was like, how are they gonna figure out how to do this 2 weeks from now, a month from now, or whatever? And then all he texted me back was, wow. And then he texted me back saying, well, can I eat then? At
the district, you guys didn't get the wrestle Patty Gallagher, did you?
No. We got upset in the quarters by not getting taken down and the kid kind of playing the edge and a ref letting, he did the Priscilla. So he
the side headlock?
So he hooked Najee's back leg, which the ref didn't see, and then did this thing around the neck and just sat on it for 30 seconds. So, ref didn't. I'm just sitting like, what are you supposed to? I mean,
it's a stall.
At least a stalemate.
It's a stall. Yeah, it's a stall though. But was it the kid from Savannah? Was it Liber?
Played the edge. Yeah.
Was it Liber from Northview?
No. It was Jackson from Lakewood.
And then did you get to wrestle him again?
No, he lost in the semis and lost 3 in a row. He lost 3 in a row.
He took 6th?
No. Yeah. Took 6, yeah.
So you guys took 3rd, and then
we went opposite direction.
I was gonna say you were opposite of Patty, right?
Yeah, like opposite of Patty. So it was like because the Jackson thing was frustrating because Najee, like that Friday night, he didn't eat anything after weigh-ins either. Like he ate a little bit and he weighed. I was like, and I could tell in overtime he just didn't have the push on his double leg that he normally does. So when he weighed out at 62 point, like he weighed out, he's weighed out at 62.8 or something like that, like 0.2, like he was 0.8 under.
Yeah, he wasn't at the weight; he was under a little bit.
Yeah.
When you're cutting a bunch of weight, you don't want to be 8/10 under. You want to be right on.
Yeah, or you could be a pound over and run for 20 minutes and be done with it. Like,
yeah.
That's what you do. So I could tell. We could tell the way he wrestled too that he didn't eat. Like me and Marcel, whenever he came up, he's like, he didn't eat. Marcel always comes, he's like, he didn't eat. and you could tell. You could tell.
How about Marcel Clapton? I like that dude. He's a good dude. Was he a state runner up for you?
Yeah, yeah.
And then Najee was a runner up last year at 70, right? To Carson?
Yep.
To to Karshala, right?
Yep.
And it wasn't what right? Isn't that who it was? It was Carson, wasn't it?
Carson, yeah, yeah.
It was close. It wasn't a bad match either, right?
Say that again.
It wasn't. It was a close match though, right? It wasn't like you got your doors blown off.
He lost. It wound up being 7-1 because it was 5-1 late, and then Najee tried another shot or something. They tried and got taken down late. It was the first time I was like, yeah, we're just not beating this kid. Like I saw that, but in my opinion, if Najee was with me throughout, from 8, not like. I know there have been more there. I know there's more that I could have given. It was just, it's just the high school time was kind of short. So
you lost him for 2 years, right? He went 2 years. He went to Ignatius.
Yeah, it was like 8, 9, 10.
Oh, you lost him for 3 years.
Well, actually, it was kind of like 4 because he would kind of come back and forth in 7th grade, and then 8th he came back for 2nd. Remember when we were at when Farouk won? He was 7th grade. Like when Farouk won junior high, he was in 7th.
Okay.
And I thought he was going to be back, and then he was gone, and then that was it. And then I get a call that he's coming back, and then here we are.
From the outside looking in, Will, it didn't look like you had a hard time repairing the relationship with him. It felt like you trusted the kid, and it looked like the kid trusted you. It didn't feel like it was like this huge amount of distrust for one another, and it looks like you guys just picked up right where you left off when he was a middle schooler. Would you say that's accurate?
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, me and him have been through a lot of stuff, just a frustration of him trying to win youth state championships. He had a tough time getting that done, but I believed in his talent, but I always knew that there was things that he had to work on, and those were the things I was always looking on, like long term with him, and that was probably some of the frustration and kind of what people were probably making promises, and people were saying, "Hey, we can get you better now. We can do this now." And everything was, he told me he wanted to go to Stanford or he wanted to wrestle deep. He would tell me, and I was like, okay, well, let's work on that. When I'm talking to an 11-year-old, 12-year-old, let's work on your law. I didn't worry about the short term, and that's what people kind of use that against you sometimes. So I just said, all right, it's just what it is. But it's very interesting. Everyone can't do the Stever route, right? Like Stever hit the peak and stayed at it. How many people have done that?
Yeah, but you're you of all people, you're the late bloomer of late bloomers. You know what I mean? When I talk to you, you're the definition of late bloomer. You know what I mean? Never made a state tournament, but you qualified for an NCAA tournament. That hasn't happened a bunch. Yeah. I don't know if you know that. That probably hasn't happened a whole lot. I can't think of another guy.
Yeah, and I wrestled Olympic trials in 2000 as well.
Yeah, so it's you're the late bloomer of late bloomers, but obviously Stever, he's the opposite end of the spectrum from Will Knight. Yeah. When you look at where we're going right now, our society is completely changing. Dude, I don't even know what the new normal is. I was talking to Tim Foley, TR Foley. He works for UWW. He does Foley's Friday mailbag.
I would probably know if I
Yeah, you'd know him if you saw him. Anyway, I was talking to Tim Foley, and he lives in Manhattan.
Okay.
Like Chelsea, like Manhattan, Chelsea area. And that's the epicenter of this whole outbreak right now in America. And it's a very international city. Obviously, it's New York. New York City's New York City. It's the center of cultural humans, I think, in my opinion.
I was supposed to be there last week. That was going to be my first quick getaway after the state tournament. I was supposed to be in Brooklyn with my buddy.
So, and it's 5 boroughs, and they're all on top of each other, and population density's at its max in that city. But he's like, I don't even know what a lot of this is going to look like after this. Will, and I know you might not have the answers. What is the new normal? What is this going to look like?
You know what I think is going to happen? I've been just being around Shaker, seeing people kind of getting back to, taking care of their houses by themselves and cooking on their own and kind of talking to your neighbors a little bit because they're all kind of outside, socially distanced, but you kind of talk, I'm talking to my neighbors. It felt Like last week felt like 1983 to me. Like when I walked outside and I saw all these people, like, okay, you saw people going to the grocery store and coming and cooking at their house, and people outside and everyone playing and people working on, and it was like not one kid had their phone on. Like it was like it felt like when I was a kid. And other than like, I hope we can get a little bit more of that. I think that's where we're going to be, because I think people might be enjoying it a little bit. At least like being, like, all right, let's get to know our neighbors. Let's cook at the house. Let's not worry. I mean, it's going to hurt some fast food joints, but I mean, like, but you realize how much money you save. Like just the things we're doing and how we're living a little bit, slowing it down a little bit. But I think as far as wrestling, I think the coach's handshake might have to go away.
It
You
does.
know,
It does.
like I was at Perrysburg and we didn't have a coaches meeting, and that was the beginning of the people start talking about this thing, the pandemic. Okay, and in the coaches meeting, I was going to just suggest like maybe we shouldn't do the coach and kid handshake. Let's just eliminate one more handshake, and just so we, and but I think that's going to have to go.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I've always hated that.
I
I loved college when I didn't have to shake the other coach's hand. I loved it. They
I know me
made me
too.
do it in high school, and I hated it. And I think there was a year I just didn't do it. And then they like kind of pseudo made it a rule, didn't they?
Yeah, no, it's still not a rule, but it's just like coaches have a rule. It's like a coach
Yeah,
no shake
I
hands.
dislike it so much.
Yeah,
Oh, you're a genius. Thank you for that. That's just a little thing, but I hate that. I can't
I
stand
know.
it.
No, it's gonna have to go. It's gonna
Yeah,
have to
I'm not
go.
a fan of that. Thank you. That is a little thing, but thank you. That's a great answer. I appreciate that. Um, where are you moving forward as far as you're talking about doing documentaries, but what else are you doing right now? Have you been involved with this Ohio State thing at all? With what's going on? Have you ever been involved with the Doc Strauss thing at all?
Yeah, I'm a big part of a group, and I've been doing a lot of behind the scenes work, just getting people to, I just spent a lot of time just getting people talking to investigators and just getting proper representation, and just to, so their voice could be heard.
Where is the university at? It feels like the university is really dragging their feet on trying to make people whole again or paying people damages. Are you allowed to
They are.
talk about any of that, or where are they at?
Well, this is what I can tell you is I'm with a group that's represented by Rocky Ratliff, and ultimately the thing that I am proud about is, I talked to over 50 people about this, and it gets a little draining, and I know there's controversy between parties and things, but one thing is I still love Ohio State wrestling, and you know I still would love a relationship with those guys. And I talk to Tom and Jay every once in a while. It's still a little, still awkward at times, but I think when I bust their balls on Twitter, I think they think that it's from a negative place, but it's I'm busting Jay Jagger's balls. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
And
I don't really feel like those guys have any. They don't have anything to do with it. I
they
mean,
have exactly,
they just
but
work for
it
the
has
institution that it happened to be where the guy was. I don't think.
yes, it has. They have zero to do with it, and ultimately, uh, where Ohio State I think is dropping the ball as far as when it comes to taking care of these things happen, and the things just weren't right, and the atmosphere at Larkins Hall, where our training facility, it was a gauntlet of like perverts just doing just it was just a bad atmosphere,
Voyeurism.
and
Voyeurism is the word, Will.
at the highest level. And you know what I've also learned? We're not alone. It happened at Michigan. I know the voyeurism happened at Penn. I heard a story about Penn, the voyeurism there. Wherever there's an open locker room and wrestling, there's voyeurism. This happened at every college where there's an open locker room system.
and
So, and
and you
that's
had a
the
doctor on top of that. You had a doctor who was using
Yeah.
his position of power and calling things
Yeah.
medical exams and weren't really medical exams.
Yeah. So let me give you this one piece that always people always try and tell me. People always ask, why didn't you just kick his ass? Why didn't you just this, right? So what I always, everyone who's talking to us is thinking like someone that's 40 years old, 45 years old, as grown-ups, right? So all I tell them, I said, well, what if this, and they're normally here because they're telling me they have a son or a daughter. I said, well, what if that happened to your son? He's going to college next year. The first thing they say, see, they think of it different when you look at it that way. Or, I heard Randleman and I heard Yates, and everyone complained all the time, and if things didn't happen, what would I look like beating up some old doctor? Like, I'd be back home wrestling at Tri-C. Like I would have got kicked off the team or kicked out of Ohio State because they just seemed to kind of cover up for this doctor and kept moving him around. So they just kept covering up for this doctor, and people tried, like Russ tried. It just I had given I had talked to Russ about this, about, hey, when is Doc going to be out of our locker room at least? And then he said, I'm working on it. And then our senior year, Doc wasn't in our locker room. And there's plenty of things that people tried to do. It just now it just turned ugly, and it didn't need to be. And that's what disappoints me about Ohio State. That it just didn't need to be. We could have just worked on this, and then kind of. I still hope they're ready to make this right, because it needs to be done for everyone. Because I'm sending kids to college. I'm sending kids, and I couldn't imagine sending a kid to college and this happens to them. That would be very, very heartbreaking to me. So,
Is your relationship ruined with Russ Hellickson, Jim Jordan? I obviously know you don't like Jim Jordan's politics, but I think you like Jim Jordan as a person. I think you like Jim Jordan as a guy.
Jim's very disappointing to me now. Up until 2 years ago, like I definitely don't like his politics, but that never drove, because I talked to him. I would call him. He invited me to the Capitol once, and whenever I met him, whenever I saw him at the state tournament, I introduced a bunch of inner city kids to Congressman Jim Jordan, who's my wrestling coach. You know what I mean? Like, because those kids were like, wow, a congressman too. Like, Willie Knight knows everybody. So, yeah, and the Russ thing with me is not strained, but with everyone else is. And I'm hoping when we get some resolution, I think I can do some patchwork with some people. I think we could all come together and kind of talk through some things and kind of try and get back to a little bit of reconciliation,
If you look what Michigan State did with, was it Nasser, right?
Yeah.
Larry Nasser. They paid out a couple $100 million if you look.
Yeah.
That it's almost like this Penn State, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Sandusky. It's almost like those places, yeah. It's almost like those places are so big they can't fail.
Yeah, and Ohio State, other than the Ivies, they have way more money than Michigan State and Penn State. Put it that way.
Well, if you look at the endowments, yeah, it's the Ivies, and then normally you get into like a public because that's why they have a lot of those jobs.
Yeah, Texas.
Their job is to build the endowment. They have 1,000 people, 2,000 people at Ohio State. Their job is literally to build the university's endowment. You know that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like that's things that we learned. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, right. And then you learn a lot about what they spend money on and what they do, and at the beginning, it wasn't about the money for me. It was about trying to. People had to be held. I just wanted people to tell their story so they didn't feel like, you know what, this happened to me. Because you don't want to walk around like, oh, you went to a house. You should be able to tell your story as men. Why can't men tell this story? Okay, and that's so that's been kind of the fortunate thing for some people. It's like unfortunate things happen to men too, not just boys or young men, 19-year-old, 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds. Think about it. We coach high school. We're sending kids to these colleges. They should not have to deal with shady doctors. and perverts in locker rooms. They just shouldn't have to deal with it.
I couldn't agree with you more. I don't know what else to say. They shouldn't be dealing with that. It's 1,000% something they should not be dealing with. Yeah, the whole thing is just I can't honestly wait for it to be over and Ohio State to try and do the right thing and they're gonna have to pay people. We already know that. They know that. We know that. I don't know why they're delaying it, but hey, maybe they know something you and I don't know.
I think they're delaying just because they can. You know, it's kind of. I mean, that's why you love them. I mean, they're a big arrogant university. It's the big. You know, they're the biggest. You know, they're too big to fail, and they're like just showing you why you can't. You know, they gotta let you know. It's that we run things, we run the state. But like I said, I still cheer for. I still love Ohio State football. I still love Ohio State wrestling. I still would encourage kids to go there, and so that's not even where I'm at. Javon Jones was just calling me right there.
Maybe he's watching. Maybe might be watching. So, Will, what else have we missed out on here, man? I'm an open book here, buddy.
I had to talk about that damn bracket.
Okay. You were hitting me up on this bracket, and I'm like, dude, I'm not the guy. I was trying to be like as nice about it as I could. I'm like, I'm not the guy. You're the guy. Here's your platform. What was wrong with Ohio State's bracket that Logan Stieber should have won, in my opinion? What was wrong with Ohio State's bracket? The virtual bracket that they did. Go.
First of all, you taught me how to tweet, so I don't really know how to tweet you, so that's why, you know, I got...
What was I doing? What was I thinking?
But look, man, I love you, brother, so it's what it is. It's all love, man.
You're smashing me, and I'm like, Will, come on, man.
No, I just wanted other people, I know people follow you, so I'm like, hey, maybe he'll throw some, you know. So look, and it's also about the Twitter sphere, okay? Obviously, first of all, the 90s get so disrespected in the history of Ohio State. It's so disrespected. Okay? Now, our group was just an overachieving group of low non-recruits walk-ons, and we kept Ohio State freaking wrestling going. And coincidentally, we got them that new damn facility. So let me just throw that out there. Okay? We got your ironwood. But anyway, so look what happens. First of all, the criteria for being in the tournament is flawed. Okay? There's no way Vinyasa Yetz and Eric Smith are not on that bracket. Just people that win and they're just amazing. All right? There's people that are in the bracket that shouldn't be. The C's were all wrong. The C's were all wrong.
Why? Why? Tell me why. Wait. Okay, so Vinyasa Yetz, Eric Smith. One-time All-American, third, and the other guy was one-time or two-time?
Two-time All-American.
So we got a two-timer and we got a one-timer. Okay. Who was in over those two who shouldn't have been?
Big Ten champion beat Darrell Weber in the Big Ten final.
Okay. Who was in over them? Give me two guys.
I'm just saying they should have been in the tournament. So I'm just moving on. But I'm going to tell you some of the other flaws.
Okay. All right.
So look, the C's were all wrong. First of all, Kevin Randleman should have been the number 2 seed or the number 3. He shouldn't have been the 4. He should have been the 3 seed. Point blank.
Okay. If Kevin Randleman would have wrestled a 4th year, he's the 1 or the 2 seed, in my opinion.
Yeah. Now he should be 1, 2, or the 3. He should have been the 2, but for this new young Twitterers, you know, that they only think wrestling's only been around for 10 years, which shows in this tournament, and it's like you could tell. And Tommy should have been a 4, and Jay Jagger should have been a 5.
Okay.
All right. Rex Holman and Mitch Clark should have been both higher. Okay, I believe. Rex Holman went undefeated his senior year, Big Ten champ. He was the 2-time Big Ten champ, and he lost in the semifinals. Got upset in the semifinals junior year, but the following year he's undefeated. Like just being a 9.
Hold on. He got upset and cradled in the semifinals by Mark Kerr. Hold on.
That's what I mean.
Who The Rock is going to play in a movie coming up? You know that, right?
See what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? right? Look who he lost. He lost to Mark Kerr. He got caught in the cradle by Mark Kerr.
He was winning.
Okay?
Do you know he was winning and he
Yeah.
just got cradled?
Yeah.
The dude, it was like the last second, 1-2. It was like,
Yeah. Exactly. Right? so same thing. Like Mitch has the most dominating performance in NCAA history.
finals. Finals, period.
Finals, period. Most dominating. So, okay. That's your 8 and 9 seed. All right? So, my main beef is thinking this. There's only 2 people that I can look at that could, quote unquote, beat Logan Stever in this thing. And it's just more of thinking if, when it really comes down to the 2 things that people like, the wrestling or the popularity. There was no person ever more popular during their time wrestling than Kevin Randall. Okay? So, he is a 3-time Big Ten champ, 2-time national champ, runner-up, left his senior year like a great tailback would leave. It just was his time to go. I think part of the frustration with our facility and our doctor had to do with that. I can't tell you, he's not around to tell us that. Okay? So, say if he, now, at the NCAA tournament, Kevin Randall is the only person that they stopped the tournament for to watch him do his leaps. They stopped the tournament his junior year at Ames, Iowa. They said, everyone, pay attention to mat number 4 while Kevin Randleman is up. And then everyone cheered as he did. Everyone yelled, 1, 2, because he did 3 leaps and then went and wrestled people. He wrestled after he separated, he dislocated his jaw, practicing with Rex Holman, going into Big Tens. Wrestled with a separated jaw, won Big Tens. Ray Brinzer knew that and was trying those front headlocks and try to, mess with a head. People started knowing he had a separated jaw. So at the point in the quarterfinals at NASP, he's wrestling a guy, his jaw goes out. Okay? Jaw goes out. Trainer comes out, pushes him out the way. Coleman comes out, he pushes him and Russ out of the way. He goes in the middle of that, slams his jaw back into place, and goes on the line. I've never seen a man do such a thing, and the guy that was wrestling him saw, I am not winning this match after that. He goes on and wins that national championship. No one's ever done that. And my other thing is, I would love to see a match between prime Jay Jaggers at Nationals and Logan Stever at the moment, okay? Because the only thing that could beat someone like Logan is a Jay Jaggers type of cradle. That would be the only thing. Like, I would love to see that match. Like, wow, this might be a one guy that could catch him. I don't think he's beating him, but that's what I'm saying. That's why I give Jay a higher seed, and I'd like him to get to a semifinal against Logan Stever. I will have Stever against Jay Jaggers in that semi, and I will have Randleman versus Snyder in that semi. And as you know, Randleman's doing 3 leaps and beating Snyder. he was too prime time. He was too prime time. And that's what I like about Jay Jaggers too. They're so prime time. So that would be some great semis. And I will have, the Logan and Randleman, I love them both. They're my 2 favorite people. So, I'm going to give love to Stever beating Randleman in the finals.
Okay. Mark Coleman was only a Buckeye. Was he only a one-time All-American at Ohio State? Because he was 4th at Miami and then champ for Ohio State, right?
Yeah, and he transferred, and then he was...
so that's why they can't... I don't think you could do much with Mark Coleman on it.
Yeah, out of respect, I would have, because I saw what he was and what he did.
But you get my point, right? Like, as a Buckeye...
No, totally. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I would have had him as more of that 9-8 seed. Like I said, I would have moved up Mitch, and I would have, like, those one-timers, those seeds are tough. But like Miles Martin, like, I like what he did, but, there's some big matches that he lost. He had his kryptonite in Bo Nickel. Like, Randleman didn't have any kryptonite. He didn't have kryptonite. Like,
he won after he got chin whipped. He won the next year. Was Ryland at the weight, or was it Chelsevic then?
No, Ryland was at 167 when Random is Cuz born it, a boy from Purdue.
Oh, Charlie Jones.
Charlie Jones, and then Charlie Jones. I don't know what happened to Ryland that year because
I think he got like fifth. I think he got like fifth.
He like lost in the Sims and fell apart.
Yeah, he got like fifth. Okay.
Yeah.
What else? Hold on. I'm not letting you off the hook. What else about this bracket, this virtual Twitter bracket, made you mad? And what is there anything else?
Bracket, so think about this. Think about it. Look, we love. Okay. First of all, Randomman hasn't lost 2 matches since he was a sophomore in high school at a tournament. So how does he lose? How does he lose? 2. You lose to Tomasello twice.
Maybe he gassed him out. Maybe he dislocated his jaw. I don't know. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? I don't know.
Look, once again, I love my man Tom. I love Tomasello. Randomman was a 3-time Big Ten champ as well. He was a 3-time Big Ten champ.
Nato was a 4-time. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Randomman didn't wrestle his senior year.
Okay.
He didn't wrestle senior year.
Nathan did.
He would have won it. He would have won it, and he would have beat Les Gutches and been national champ again. That's just what Randomman does. That's what he does.
Okay. So it sounds like your real big gripe here is it's the overall positioning of the bracket, but the shade and disrespect thrown to Kevin Randomman. I think that's what I'm finding out. Just judging by your shirt as well.
Hey, look, this was a rudest Twitter tournament, man. Rudest Twitter tournament. People it was very rudest friendly and Twitter friendly.
I don't even know what to say to you right now, but I'm not mad at you. All I know is you kept coming at me, and I'm like, dude, I don't know what you want. I'm not the guy. I don't know. Maybe there's like these guys on Twitter who are like, there's one guy, he hates Kyle Snyder. He only calls him Benedict Snyder.
Yeah, come on.
Dan only, he's like, oh, Benedict this and Benedict, because he's a traitor like Benedict Arnold. And I'm like, come on, man. Kyle Snyder is still pretty freaking good.
I know. If he left, I can understand if he left Ohio State.
Yeah, he left the club. He left the RTC, man. Come on. He won an Olympic gold medal there. What do you want? What do you want?
No, that's not criteria at all with me, man.
So listen. So let me think about this. Kyle Snyder's greatest accomplishments were with the Ohio State University, and they were with the Ohio RTC. And he really hasn't had the chance yet with the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club. Apparently next year in Tokyo 2021, we're going to see that, or we aren't. But, like, it's like, dude, when someone does that, it's like, should the Patriots be mad at Tom Brady if he goes and wins in Tampa?
Come on. Like, that's ridiculous. That's just what you're up against with Ohio State fans, though.
Yeah, and I like Dan, but he hates Kyle Snyder, and I'm like, Kyle Snyder's a good dude. I can't tell you one bad thing about him. Every time he goes out, I want to see him win. Unless he's, wrestling another American or what. I mean, then at that point, I hope. But he wrestles a foreigner. I want him winning 100 out of 100 times.
Exactly. So, and also, I got a question for you.
Go.
What's up with the boy from Pennsylvania, Willie Saylor, who thinks like everything begins and ends with Pennsylvania wrestling?
It's a gimmick, I think. It's a gimmick to a degree. And Pennsylvania wrestling is the best. They're the deepest. The data shows it.
But you know what? You know what also, though? College wrestling is geared towards Pennsylvania style wrestling.
Agreed. Because it's cultural with the mat riding.
Yeah. And also, if you look at a ridiculous rule, the fact that if a guy has double boots and the guy has your wrist and then the guy on bottom stalling, like that is ridiculous. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation for when we create our podcast.
There's nothing wrong with Willie Saylor. He's just a little nuts. He likes the Bud Heavy. He likes the Budweiser.
I want people to have fun. But the thing I'm calling him out about is wait till I put this Ohio team together, the great Ohio team. I'll put that against anybody. Our second team might be Pennsylvania, bro.
Well, the thing you got going with the Ohio team is you can put Lee Kemp on the team.
Of course, he's on the team.
I mean, you can put Lee Kemp on the team. You can put Malika on the team. I mean, there's just
look, dude. I'm telling you, look. There's a guy named Sean Garrett from Shaw High, as a 2-time national champ at Oklahoma. Ask Jamie Milkovich about it.
Well, then you can put what you got to pick the Milkovich you want to put on there. I think you put Tom.
He doesn't make this team.
I think you put Tom. I think Tom's the best Milkovich, but a lot of people would say it's Pat.
He is, but Milkovich isn't going to make this team.
That's insane.
If I'm talking about for the team that became college wrestlers. The team.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Like I'm telling you, Jim Jordan might not be on this team. Alan Freed's going to have a tough time starting on this team.
That's a pretty good team.
Right. Look at Steve Luke might not start.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's either Lee Kemp or Alan Freed, bro. Right?
Wait, and then you got Heskett. There's a lot of guys. Malika, Heskett. Pacello's not going to make the team.
Yeah, think about it. Right? Look, you can have. Then you got. Think about your ending. You got Heskett, Malika, Randleman, Rex Holman, Tommy Rowland.
Yeah, there's a lot. But then you're leaving out Greg Wojciechowski from Toledo.
That's what I'm saying. I'm leaving out a Heffernan. I'm leaving.
Yeah, I mean there's
second. It rotates. They're all in the workout room.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna have a squad too, and he's got. He's going to have Jack Kuvo on his team. Kerry Colat's going to be on his team.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, their team is going to be. I mean, dude, PA is just.
We got you. You can try and put the Hughes on there, but their college year was not that great.
Yeah,
put the Altons on there.
Yeah.
We put the Altons. Hey,
nah, the Altons aren't even honorable mention.
Dave Taylor's on our team too. Remember that.
It's Dave Taylor's on our team. You're right.
I'm telling you, this list is crazy. Hey, Steve St. John might not start on this team, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, Dan St. John, 2-time national champ.
Yeah, I mean, we got a pretty good team. I would agree with you.
I told you. Our second team. Let's start with our second team and see if they can hang with it.
Yeah. Don't get them started. Okay. I got to go watch a movie with my wife. Do you got anything else for me? Any airing of grievances?
No.
Zab, I want to punch you in the face next time I see you.
This is what we're about to do. Me and you. There's two projects we got to do. We're going to do this wrestling podcast together. Let's do a wrestling podcast together. Or be involved in the one I do.
I could probably be a guest on your podcast every now and again.
Yes, do that.
Okay.
And I'm doing this document on the history, and I want you to be a part of it. I'm doing this document on the history of Ohio high school wrestling.
Well, you know that if it's from 2008 to now, you can just use my footage too, right? You know that.
That's what I want. But I want to talk about the old school and then kind of how wrestling is being talked about now, and you're pretty important in that. That's what I'm saying.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. All right, you got anything else for me? You're gonna yell at me about anything else? You're gonna get on and you forgot to talk about this and.
I'm gonna tweet you soon about something, brother. It's all right.
Oh, all right. Thank you for the time, Will. Stick around real quick. I'll talk to you afterwards. Let me cut this live feed, all right?
All right, brother.